Hi, this is Ron Cipcic, and this is the second part of a three-part series on the duopoly model. And I would like to take a few minutes here at the beginning of this segment to review some of the key ideas we developed back in segment 1. Let's remember that what we did in segment 1 was to compare competition to collusion. We're looking at a case where there's only two firms in the market, and these two firms sell essentially the same thing, and they have equal market shares and all that. They have equal cost structures. And what we prove in segment 1 is that if you hold cost and demand constant, both firms can significantly improve their payoffs by colluding, by working together as one firm. Collusion is monopolization. So when we use the word collusion, we could also just pen in the term monopoly. So really what we're comparing is competition to monopoly. Two firms basically going at it head to head, not talking to each other, trying to compete against each other, versus one firm where two firms are actually working as one firm, and they're able to fix the price artificially high. So notice that when the firms collude, they fix the price above the competitive price. And in our example, we went from 10 to 20. Of course, to do that, sales have to decrease because there's a demand curve. All right. Now, what I show here is the per firm outcome. This is either firm A or firm B. It's not the combined outcome. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you the per firm numbers here, not the overall market numbers. So each firm goes from producing 4,500 down to 3,000. This 3,000 is what is called a quota. It's a limit that each firm must abide by to keep the price high. Notice, however, that revenues increase. Revenues go from 45,000 to 60,000 because buyers are relatively what? They're relatively price insensitive. Notice that the profit goes from a break-even position. So if the two firms are competing, only two firms in the market, we assume they're each breaking even, but notice how they go from a break-even position to a rather significant profit position simply by colluding. Again, I emphasize there is no change in the cost structure or in the demand side. There's no change. It's simply a change in how the two firms relate. Are they competing or are they colluding? That's simply the question. Now what we want to look at in this particular segment is an interesting dynamic that is very common with cartels. And I'm going to write some of this out so you can get it in your notes. By their very nature, cartels are inherently unstable. So let's write that. Cartels are inherently unstable. My marker's not working here very well. I'm going to blame it on my marker. My handwriting is wonderful. It's the marker's fault. Okay? So why are cartels inherently unstable? And the reason is cheating. And you go, what do you mean cheating? One of the firms breaking the arrangement. So what I'm going to prove to you is that there's only one better place to be than to be in a cartel, at least from the firm standpoint. It's to be in a cartel and be cheating on your partner. The cheater can actually boost his or her profits even higher by cheating. You go, well, how would the other firm go along with this? Why would the other firm allow a firm to cheat on it? Well, that's an interesting question, and that's a question we'll be looking at in this particular segment. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our models. And I'm going to put our models back up. In this case, though, I'm actually going to put up 3 models because I have to show a cheater, a cheated firm, and the market. So I can't show a firm A or firm B because firm A and firm B aren't getting the same outcome. There's actually going to be a couple different outcomes here. So let's go ahead and draw this. I'm going to draw 3 two-dimensional models across the space. and something like that. And then this will be firm A, and we'll assume that firm A is the cheater. I'll show you how firm A cheats. Firm B will be our victim. It's the cheated firm. And then this will be the market. This will be firm A and firm B. Okay? Again, we want to draw our dotted reference line across, and we would like that dotted reference line to be a fairly straight line. So let's try again here. And so we're going to come across. Okay. And again, find a point in the middle of the space here on each of these. They have the same cost structure, so ATC comes down, hits its min, ATC goes up. Again, MC must cut ATC at its minimum point. ATC comes down, ATC goes up. MC must cut ATC at its minimum point. The cost structure should be similar on both curves. And then over here we're going to put a point in the space, and we're going to draw in our demand curve. We are actually going to leave out the cost curves this time, the supply side, and there's no reason to put it in. It'll just mess things up a lot. So here's our demand curve. Okay, now the dotted line represents the same levels we've been talking about. So this dotted line associates with the number 10. We run 10 across to the demand curve. We actually get that 9,000 that we have been talking about. So let's put that back in, like so. So at a price of, this is price, this is quantity demanded. At a price of $10 a unit, we sell 9,000. And that again coincided with the minimum point of those ATC curves all the way across. When the firms colluded, what happened? The price went all the way up here to 20, didn't it? So 20 is your price with collusion. So 20 is the price when they're price fixing. Again, price fixing is two firms or more. Can happen with more than two, but two or more firms working together secretly to hold the price artificially high. And then, of course, to sell at that price, the combined firm must be willing to sell less than 9,000. There's a demand curve. Okay? Clean that up a little bit. So, there we go. Okay, now find the midpoint. I'm going to go to purple here. Find the midpoint between 20 and 10. That, of course, would be 15. And if the price were 15, this is a midpoint, the combined quantity would be 7,500, right? The midpoint between 6,000 and 9,000 is 7,500. The midpoint between 10 and 20 is 15. Let's go ahead and read 15 across. So we'll do that like so. And then let's put our horizontal demand curves in there. And put our horizontal demand curve in there. This is the DMR curve. This likewise is the DMR curve. Now, let me explain the scenario. Let me lay out for you how this sequences out in your thinking. So now the price is 15. You go, well, how did the price get to be 15? That's a good question. All right, let's take a look at this. So, let me get this drawing table across. So what happens is collusion moves the price from 10 up to 20. Now, it moves the sales down from 9,000 to 6,000. What we're going to assume is one of the firms cheats on the arrangement. You go, what do you mean? Well, we're going to assume that firm A cheats on the arrangement by producing more than its quota. So instead of producing 3,000, we're going to assume the firm produces 4,500. So the firm should be producing 3,000 by agreement with firm B, but it cheats, it exceeds its quota secretly and produces 4,500. Now, read up to the demand curve. The demand curve is now at 15, and I'll explain that in a minute. And you should recall that the average total cost at that level is 10. The average total cost is 10. So in essence, if the price is 15 and the average total cost is 10, the cheater has gone to a much larger profit box. And I can show you this. You go, I don't understand how we got to this new price. I'm going to explain that. But I just want to show you the outcome first, and I'll explain how we got to the outcome. So if you take price minus ATC times Q, what do we have here? We've got 15 minus 10. Remember, the average total cost was 10 at 4,500. Cost curves haven't moved. Times what? Times 4,500. Well, this results in a profit of $22,500. So what the cheater has done is the cheater has gone from a profitable position of 12,000 all the way up to a, I'll call it a super profit of 22,500. How? By increasing production, by producing more than the quota. Remember, the quota is back here. The quota was back here at 3,000. But this firm is secretly exceeding its quota. You go, well, how could it get away with this? We'll explain that in a minute. Now, what is firm B doing? This is important. Firm B is being faithful to the original agreement. As faithful as a firm can be when it's breaking the law. I mean, remember, collusion is illegal. So firm B and firm A were breaking the law in the first place by secretly colluding. But firm B is being faithful to the collusive arrangement it formed with firm A. So find a point on your ATC curve that is just above 15. Read down. Call this Q sub Q. This is the quota of 3,000. Now notice when the price drops to 15, it has dropped below firm B's cost. This is actually a loss box. This point here is ATC, and that's ATC of 16. Remember, the average total cost at 3,000 from our previous set of diagrams, the average total cost at 3,000 is $16. The price is now what? The price is now 15. So this firm is actually losing $1 a unit times 3,000. You go, I don't understand why the prices drop below the average total cost. Well, we have to go back over here. If they are going to collectively sell 7,500, which is what they're going to collectively sell if one is producing 4,500 and one is producing 3,000. Remember, 4,500 and 3,000 is going to give us this 7,500. So if they're going to both produce 7,500, the price can't be higher than 15. The market, you can't sell the 7,500 unless the price is 15. Now you go, well, you know, how is A getting away with this? We're going to deal with that in a minute, but let's just get the basic market structure up. So the basic idea is the cheater cheats by exceeding the quota. Instead of producing 3,000, secretly produces 4,500. The other firm is faithful to the quota, produces the quota, but in essence, for both of the firms to sell what they're producing, the price has to drop to 15. 15 doesn't bother firm A. 15 is still above its average total cost. Even though the price has dropped from 20 to 15, this firm's average total cost is only 10. This firm is in a profit position. However, the drop in price affects firm B in a negative way. It is still incurring an average total cost of 16, but now it can only sell those units for 15. It's actually losing. Price minus ATC times Q is what? Is 15 minus 16. Average loss of what? Average loss of $1 times what? Times 3,000. Total loss, I'll put it in brackets, $3,000. So the cheated firm is in a loss position. So when that price drops from 20 down to 15, in order for those additional units to be sold, the additional 1,500 units to be sold, the price has to be lower. So we've essentially moved, if you think about it, we've moved from point, let me just clean this up a little bit. I'm trying to be a neat professor today. If you look at this picture, you wouldn't know it. But let's just imagine I'm a neat professor. Point 1, point 2, point 3. Price moves from 1 to 2, 2 back to 3. 1 to 2 is collusion, 2 to 3 is cheating. Say it again. When the market moves from 1 to 2, the firms are colluding. When the market moves from 2 to 3, one of the firms is cheating. Now you go, how can B let A get away with this? Well, what A is going to do is it's going to lie. A is going to argue it's still selling 3,000. A is going to say I'm still selling 3,000 too. You're selling 3,000, which means we're still both selling 6,000. A is going to lie. And what it's going to argue, don't do this to your picture, but it's going to argue that the demand curve has actually moved to the left. In other words, to sell 6,000, now the firms have to charge 15. In other words, if the demand curve has moved to the left, the demand curve has shifted to the left. It hasn't. But if it had shifted to the left, it's possible that the firm would have to lower its price to sell the same quantity, right? So firm A is going to say, I'm losing money too. Again, these two firms are secretly working together. They're breaking the law. And firm A has decided it's going to cheat on B. We shouldn't be surprised if firm A is also willing to lie and say, have two sets of books and show firm B a set of books that shows I'm losing money too. And yet firm A is not losing money. It's secretly exceeding its quota. It's profitable. In fact, it's very profitable. It's just not telling B it's profitable. Okay? You can see that cheating has introduced instability into the arrangement, because what allows a cartel to work is cooperation and trust. Once one of the firms or both of the firms start cheating on each other, trust is broken down, and now the cartel arrangement is unstable. Firm B is probably going to find out at some point, or suspect firm A of cheating. All right, firm A is driving. The owner of firm A is driving a very, very nice car for losing money. All right, there might be other evidence that firm A is not suffering like firm B is. Or maybe there will be an employee on the inside of firm A's firm who gets disgruntled with the owner of firm A and runs over and tells firm B that the owner is secretly exceeding quota. All right, however the cheater is discovered, once firm B finds out it's being cheated upon, it will revert back to competition, and basically the cartel will fall apart. So if both firms are cheating on each other, then essentially the cartel arrangement has broken down, and once the cartel arrangement breaks down, we're back to compete. So again, the major idea here is cartel arrangements are inherently unstable, and it's due to cheating. How do firms cheat? They cheat by exceeding their quota. So let me write this out. So what do we mean by cheating? How? The firm cheats by what? Exceeding the production quota. Producing more than what was promised. And again, we're not saying this is easy to do. We're not saying it's easy to get away with. The cheater may get discovered. In fact, it's likely the cheater will get discovered. But again, what drew them together in the first place? What drew them together was greed. They could make greater profit by working together secretly and breaking the law. What will break them apart in the end? What will break them apart is greed. All right, there's only one better place. If you're greedy, there's only one better place to be than to be in a cartel. It's to be in a cartel and be cheating on your partner. Okay, we'll wrap up this lesson here. We've said enough. You've got some things to digest. Take a moment, go back over the numbers, look at the logic, and think about this. By the way, just one final point. Cartel arrangements are illegal in the United States and really in other nations throughout the world. But it's not illegal for nations to form cartels. For instance, there's OPEC, the oil producing, cartel for oil producing nations. That's a group of, I think it's 13 or 14 nations that have formed an oil cartel. Is OPEC illegal? No. There's no international law that says different countries, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, and Nigeria, and other countries, there's no law saying they can't get together and form a production unit and try to raise the world price of oil. Now, OPEC hasn't been terribly successful of late because there's lots of non-OPEC nations that are not part of the cartel. Back in OPEC's heyday, which would be back in the late 60s and 70s, back when OPEC was its strongest, it had between 60 and 70%. It produced over 60% of the world's oil. Today it produces much lower than that. Its share of the world's oil is less than half of 60%. There's lots of countries today producing oil that are not part of OPEC. What I'm trying to drive at is there is another reason why cartels fail. It's because when they hold prices artificially high, they encourage other producers to enter the market, and these other producers will very likely not be cartel members. Okay? So the number one reason explaining the instability of cartels is cheating. But another reason explaining the inherent weakness of cartels is competition from non-cartel members. Okay, we will in fact wrap it up at this point.